Well, thank you very much, and hello, Tennessee, and hello, Mississippi. Thank you. You're all here. It's great to be back with thousands of proud, hardworking American patriots who believe in faith and family and freedom and liberty and God and country. Thank you very much. And I want to begin by thanking some of the outstanding leaders here today. We have really some terrific people, and I give them my endorsement even if they're not running. I don't care. They got my endorsement anyway, like Mississippi Governor Tate Reeves. Tate. Where is Tate? He's here someplace. Where are you, Tate? Thank you. Thank you, Tate. A former governor of Mississippi who is the greatest politician, a wonderful guy. He's central casting in every way. He's a very secure man, so he got termed out. I said, "You want to run for something else?" He said, "No, I'm very happy." He's very confident, and he's a great guy. Phil Bryant, your former governor. Thank you, Phil. Did a great job. Lieutenant Governor Delbert Hosemann. Delbert, thank you. Great job. They like him. A friend of mine, somebody who's very special. He ran great campaigns, and she loves this state very, very much. Cindy Hyde-Smith. Cindy, thank you. Thank you, Cindy, wherever you are. There she is. That's a good location. And the mayor of Southaven, Darren Musselwhite. Darren, thank you. Thank you, Darren, very much. Great to have you here. Thanks as well to each and every one of you for your unwavering devotion and all of the great things you've done to MAGA, Make America Great Again, the greatest movement in the history of our country. We call it a common sense movement, right? We want low taxes, we want security, we want strong military, we want all these things. We want to protect our Second Amendment, which, by the way, is under siege, as you probably know. All these things, he said, we want our freedom back. We want freedom of speech. All things, common sense. It's all common sense. We don't want crime in our cities. We want to be strong. We want to take care of our great law enforcement, policemen, firemen. We want to take care of our people. It's all common sense. You know what it's really? It's really called America First. That's what it's called. Maybe more than anything else. Together we've already accomplished more than anyone thought possible. And you know what? We're just getting started. This is just getting started. With your help, we passed the largest tax cuts and regulation cuts in American history. We achieved American energy independence and even dominance. We got gas down to $1.87 a gallon. Think of that. Remember I said gasoline's going to be $6, $7, $8, $9. They said he doesn't know what he's talking about. Guess what? Take a look at what's happening today, and it's going up a lot higher. We created the greatest economy the world has ever seen. We had things going like nobody's ever seen. Then the plague came in from China, and then we did it again, and we handed it off. We had a bad election. We had a rigged and stolen election. We handed it off. We handed it off to this group, and they rode our coattails for a year and a half, and now you see it's all coming down. Took a little while. You know, it doesn't just happen overnight. It's all coming down. We did it with no inflation and low interest rates. We created 7 million new jobs, a record. We had a record 164 million people working, far more than we have today. We achieved the largest poverty reduction in 50 years. We lifted 7 million people off of food stamps. We lifted 10 million people out of welfare. Think of that, 10 million people. We rebuilt entirely. It was a mess. Unfortunately, they gave 85 billion of it away to the Taliban. We rebuilt the United States military, modernized our nuclear forces. We have the strongest, most powerful nuclear. We had weapons that were 45 years old. We didn't even know if they worked. Hope to God we never have to use them. But with what's going on right now and with the way our people are leading this country, you could end up in a World War III. Don't kid yourself. We created something very important, Space Force, first time in 78 years since Air Force. We built almost all of the border wall, hundreds and hundreds of miles, including substantial additions that we never even planned to build. We got it finished. And 3 weeks of work, they would have completed the additions, and they didn't want to do that. Can you believe it? We stood up to Iran, Russia, China like no president in history. We destroyed the ISIS territorial caliphate, 100% destroyed, 100%. And we even created the Abraham Accords. We even created peace in the Middle East. Think of it. Nothing's happened since we started the Abraham Accords. People thought it was a modern-day miracle, but they haven't taken the leadership that was necessary to add another 10 countries. You could have added them very quickly. They were waiting online. Under our leadership, the border was secure, our communities were safe, our country was strong, and the world was calm, despite the fact that every day I had a new witch hunt started against me. And America was respected like it was never respected before. We were respected as a country. But in just 17 months, Joe Biden and the radical left have turned calm into chaos, prosperity into poverty, and security into a total catastrophe. The election was a horrible thing that took place, a horrible, horrible thing. You see it, everybody sees it, it's out there. It's out there to look at, and we can never let this happen again, and we have to continue to look. We have so much proof. You ever see where they say, the big lie? That was no lie. The big lie was what they were doing. That was the big lie. And in fact, a big story from 2 days ago that CNN has put a clamp on ever using the term the big lie, because I think they're worried about the legal liability of using that term, because I think they realize it wasn't a big lie. They're not allowed to use the term the big lie on fake news CNN anymore, which is, it's a reason. And under this leadership, our country is being destroyed. Joe Biden is the worst president in the history of our country. He is now turning out to be a combination of Jimmy Carter and Herbert Hoover. Has anyone looked at the stock market? Has anybody looked at the stock market lately? Like most of the people in the room. Biden's disasters are too numerous to even count. Inflation is the highest in nearly half a century, and your 401ks are getting crushed. Is anybody doing well in the 401k world? Raise your hand. You were doing well with me. We were up, up, up. I wonder, is there anyone that is doing well? Raise your hand if you're doing well with 401k. No one. There's a lot of people in this place. By the way, we broke a record for this particular arena. That's nice. It's always nice to break. It's always nice. It's always nice, Phil, to break records. 4.5 million people have dropped out of the labor force. Real wages have declined 14 months in a row under Biden, and we are seeing devastating stagflation. You know what stagflation is? You don't want to know. It's worse. Nobody's ever seen anything. What we're looking at now is horrible. Gas prices have reached the highest level in history. Other than that, we're doing very well. Grocery prices are skyrocketing, also setting records. Grocery prices, they say you can't make bacon anymore. Darling, I'd like to have eggs and bacon. I'm sorry, we can't afford eggs and we can't afford bacon. How about some bread? No, we can't afford that either. What am I going to eat? You're not going to eat anymore. You're going to lose about 50 pounds, darling. You basically can't order anything. Is there anything you can eat? Like normally, Cindy Hyde-Smith, there's something you can order that's less expensive. Is there anything? Grits? What about grits? Anything? Oatmeal? Nothing. No, but eggs and bacon and all this stuff, I mean, it's just like through the roof. It's a shame. Should have never happened. And then you go to the stores and there's nothing on the shelves. We never heard of this before. We're like a third world nation, and it all took place in 18 months. Can you imagine? Think of it. We don't even have baby formula. I thought it was sad the other day. Planes are coming in from Europe. They're now shipping us. Europe is shipping us. This never happened before. And you know, a couple of planes are not going to make much of a difference, but that's what they're doing. They're sending a couple of planes, and we're probably paying for it too, and we're probably paying numbers that you wouldn't believe. But in Afghanistan, Biden created the greatest humiliation, I think the greatest embarrassment in American history, with soldiers killed, horrifically wounded soldiers that nobody ever talks about, the legs, the arms, the face, hostages left behind, American hostages, and $85 billion of military equipment, the best in the world, surrendered to the Taliban. You don't take the military out first, you take the military out last. They didn't know that. I think it's the reason, frankly, that Putin went in. I think when he saw how stupid we were, he said, you know, this is my chance, because he didn't do it under my administration. He didn't do it under my administration. And he never would have done it. He would have never done it. He would have never done it. He knows it, and I know it. He would have never done it. And President Xi of China would never have been talking about Taiwan the way he's talking about it right now. That'll be next. The Biden administration is a calamity of historic proportions. They're destroying our nation. Our nation is going to hell. I want to be optimistic, but you know, it's a little hard. I'm saying I want to give a nice optimistic speech. It's a little bit hard right now, but we're going to get it back, and we will make America great again. And with all of these horrible things that you're seeing and reading and feeling more than anything else, the only thing the radical Democrats can talk about is their fake, phony narrative on January 6th. It's a total, we call it the insurrection hoax. It's a hoax because it was not an insurrection. It was people going down to Washington in numbers that you never see, because I made a speech in front of the largest group of people, I believe, that I've ever spoken before. Not the people that walked down to the Capitol. I'm talking about the people that went down. And the reason they went is they were angry about a rigged and stolen election. And these people don't want to talk about that. They don't want to talk about it because they can't, because they don't have the facts. We have all the facts. But we don't have the media. The media doesn't want to talk about it either. The travesty being staged by the unselects, we call them the unselects, I think that's a great term, is a disgrace to the House of Representatives, and it's a disgrace to our country. It will go down in infamy alongside of Adam Shifty Schiff's Russia hoax. How about this guy? For 2.5 years we had to listen to him stand up. Our country is in serious trouble. Think of this. Think of this. What President Trump has done with Russia. They used to say, do you have anything to do with Russia? I said, no, what are you talking about? This went on for, then I said, why does everybody keep asking me? This was a hoax. And you see, Durham came out with this stuff, everyone. Now everybody admits it. The papers are actually admitting they made a mistake. 2.5 years they made a mistake. But I'd see Adam Schiff. Remember, he said, we have proof, we have evidence. Oh, where is it? We will be announcing it soon. Never happened. Where is it? Never. It was a hoax. These people are con people. And now I see the same Adam Schiff. You heard my son Don before. He's a great young guy. He's a good guy. And they put him through hell. They put him through hell. Now think of this. It was a hoax made up by crooked Hillary Clinton, Adam Shifty Schiff, the radical left Democrats. They knew it was a hoax. They sat around. They made it up. It was made up by the Democrats, the DNC. So think of this. Here's Schiff, who made up a story about Russia, and I see him go up once to the microphone. Donald Trump Jr. will go to prison for what he's done to our country. Now, they're talking about my son, but nothing. He's even saying, like, I have nothing to do with Russia, Dad. I said, did you have anything to do with Russia? I have nothing to do. But think of this. Think of this. This sleazebag, we call him Watermelon Head, because he has a perfect, looks like a watermelon. No, but think of it. This guy, this sleazebag chef, here he is talking about Russia, 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 saying that my son is going to go to prison, and he knows it's a hoax. How bad a person do you have to be to say that? Think of it. My son will go to prison, and he knows it's a hoax that was made up by him and Hillary and a few of these people in order to hide the fact that she got her ass kicked in an election. You know? True. So you have the Russia, Russia, Russia hoax. And you have the Ukraine witch hunt. Remember, a perfect phone call. I made a perfect call. I got impeached for talking about a perfect call. And it turned out to be even more perfect once they found the laptop, which they had. It was a perfect call. I got impeached. But it helped me. I went up 11 points in the polls. Can you believe this? A perfect call. It'll go down as the greatest, this horrible, stupid, crazy committee, which is totally partisan. Did you ever see? I mean, actually, the worst person is, by the way, Liz Cheney is down 35 points. Did you see the poll today? 35 points. She's actually the worst one on the committee. But with their pathetic show trial, the unselects are doctoring the video of 6, 8, and 10-hour depositions. People go in for 10 hours. They're exhausted. And they'll take a 3-second sound bite, Cindy. 3 seconds, then they put it out. Oh, what sound bite. The people are they're trying to destroy all these people. They are sick. They're sick people. They're taking these statements out of context to create an impression that really the exact opposite. This is where the exact opposite happened. The lie is the lie on them. The lie is the exact opposite, and it should never be allowed. And to watch what we went through with Russia, 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 Ukraine, 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 the Mueller witch hunt. You remember that? 18 angry Democrats after my ass for a period of, 18, 19 months. Did you ever beat Russia? No, I didn't. What do you know about Russia? Well, I read about it in my history books. The false and ridiculous story they're pushing of a so-called insurrection to overthrow the United States government is a complete and total hoax, and everyone knows it. And you know who knows it best of all? The unselects. The unselect committee. Even in Georgia, the district attorney in the almost all Democrat Fulton County, it's almost all Democrat, and it's known for massive corruption, is investigating me based on an absolutely perfect phone call, perfect, on election integrity made to the Secretary of State of Georgia. Word for word, this phone call could not have been better, could not have been better. And I was president when I made the call. Word for word, and they're investigating me. It's all a witch hunt that never ends. The entire scam is nothing but a distraction from the real crimes that were committed in 2020, the crimes committed by radical left Democrats and Democrats. All you have to do is watch the new documentary, 2,000 Mules, and you will see how they stuffed the ballot box, and they kept stuffing it, ballot box after ballot box. You know, they walk in. These are great. They walk in, they're looking. They get out of a car, which they have sort of like double park. They're looking. What are they looking up in the ceiling for? When you go out to vote, Phil, when you go out to vote, you look at ceilings? I don't think so. But they're walking out. Well, you know, they're looking for cameras. And they have votes, and they start putting the ballots. Then they go to another place. They start putting. Some people went, I guess, to 28 different locations. 28 different, and it's all done. And you know what they say? Because they're con people. Oh, that was debunked. They don't know it wasn't debunked. It's hard to debunk. These are government tapes. These are made by the government. And we owe a lot to Truth to Vote because these are great patriots. Catherine, Engelhardt. These are great patriots. They watched hundreds of hours of government tape, and they had tapes on these boxes, and the tapes reveal something, and nobody looked because who's going to watch tapes for hundreds and hundreds of hours? But it was indeed the crime of the century, and look what's happened to our country. Look what's happened over that. I ran twice, I won twice, I did much better the second time. Getting 12 million more votes than we got in 2016, and likewise getting more votes than any president, any sitting president in the history of our country by far. And now we may have to do it again. Just stay ready, stay ready. Just stay ready. You know, I was told by the best pollsters, the biggest, the best, if I get 63 million votes, I got 63 million votes the first time. We did much better the second time. But if I get 63 million, you have it made, you can't lose. I got millions and millions and millions more than that, and they say we lost, but we didn't lose. The American people are not going to be fooled by the wretched partisan political theater of the Unselect Committee. 5 months from now, the voters are going to fire crazy Nancy Pelosi. Horrible Liz Cheney. And crying Adam Kinzinger. You ever see this guy? Every time they interview him, he's crying. Oh, he starts crying. There's some mental disorder he's got. He cries. He cries like I've never seen anybody cry. You just have to say anything. He's a sick puppy. They're all sick. But you're going to get rid of them. You're going to get rid of the rest of these liars and con artists. That's what they are, con artists. And we're going to elect a massive majority of proud America First Republicans. The radical Democrats will be out of power and the rhinos will be out of a job. You know, the rhinos in many ways are just as bad because you don't know who the hell they are. You don't know where they're coming from. We got some beauties. But one by one they're disappearing. You know, the people that voted for impeachment, the congressman, I think we're down to, out of the 10 that voted, they raised their hand. One of them said, it was this guy Rice, he just lost. He got 23% of the votes, the lowest, I think they said the lowest in history for a sitting congressman. He was taken out by a great person, but he got 23%. I think I heard it was the lowest vote by a sitting congressman, and nobody's ever seen anything like this. Because he voted for impeachment, because they liked the president, they liked where our country was. We were doing so good, so great. None of these problems, we wouldn't have any of them. And we'll expose them and their abuse of power. So of the 10, Cheney should be gone. That vote takes place in Wyoming soon. Ohio, he's gone. This character from South Carolina, name is Tom Rice. He said, I had no idea that I was committing political suicide when I raised my hand. He's desperate. Oh, would he like to have that vote to do again? But I laugh at how foolish the Republicans are. You take this guy, Bill Maher, right? Everybody know Bill Maher, for example? He's a radical left maniac with modest television ratings, right? Modest. And as soon as he says something that's a little bit modest or temperate, Fox and others put him on to explain, oh, look, Bill Maher, a lefty, Bill Maher is saying wonderful things. They play right into the hand of the enemy. It's amazing. I'm sure he laughs like hell at how stupid they are. They're kissing the ass of the enemy, and in that case, his ass is not particularly pretty, is it? Not particularly pretty. No, but you see it all the time. Bill Maher said on his show last night, who the hell cares about his show? And he's against essentially everything we stand for. They play right into the hands of these people. Together we can restore our country to greatness, something we never, ever talk about. We never talk about making America great. We do, but they don't. Making America great. All they talk about is hoaxes, and the press is in on it. You know, the press is maybe more guilty than them in many ways because they don't want to talk about it. They cancel everything. If you have something, if you have a great event, they don't put it on. If you have a bad event, people in this room, if you have a bad event, they make it like the greatest thing, the biggest disaster in history. When they have a bad event, they don't want to report on it. You see that? Laptop. You see that? No, they don't want to report on it. They won't report on anything bad for the Democrats. We saw that in the election. I mean, how do you get 75 million votes and we had big tech totally against us and they're crooked as hell? This guy Zuckerberg, what he did, spent $417 million. You know, if you spend more than, I think it's $5,600 for a husband and a wife, you spend $100 more, they put you in jail. $5,600, $100 more, you go to jail. This guy spent $417 million, and it's just fine. It's a disgrace. It's a disgrace what they're doing to our country. But we can erase the calamities of the Biden years. All it takes is a House, a Senate, and a president who will put America first. One of the greatest travesties of all is to see a person in the White House who, even after years of political experience, has absolutely no clue how to be the President of the United States. And I hope he has recovered because, as you know, he fell off his bicycle today. No, I'm serious. I hope he's okay. Fell off a bicycle. I make this pledge to you today, I will never, ever ride a bicycle. You know, it was, remember when John Kerry was in the midst of the Iran nuclear deal, which is so bad, I terminated it, by the way. They want to bring it back. Oh, that'll be a disaster if they do that. And they better do something with Iran, because Iran, day by day, is building nuclear weapons. They're getting closer and closer to have, and they're not doing anything about that. They're worried about climate change. They're worried about global warming. You better worry about nuclear warming, because that's a much bigger problem than the sea rising 1/8 of an inch over the next 300 years. They better be careful. Remember John Kerry, though? He fell off a bicycle, didn't he? Guy's like 74 years old, and he wanted to be a bicycle racer. And in the middle of the negotiation with Iran, didn't he fall off his bicycle, and he was out for a couple of months? I said, that's the only way we may stop this horrible deal from happening. But no, we do hope that Biden's okay, because that was a hard fall. That was scary. That was a hard. Did anybody see it? Well, we wish him well in that respect. When I was president, we didn't blame Putin for every problem. We just got the job done. We got it done like nobody's ever got it. Nobody's ever gotten it done. When I was president, I brought a great skill and experience from a lifetime in business, and I put it to work for the American worker, the American family, and the American taxpayer like no president has ever done before. I mean, just a quick one. Prior to even taking office, when I was president-elect, I was negotiating to save taxpayers over $1.7 billion for the new Air Force One. You know that. They ordered Air Force One. And I came to the office, and they wanted like 5.8, 5.7. The deal was done. Sir, would you please sign this document? One of the first documents. Some general walked in, Air Force general, walked into my office. Did you know this, Cindy? And said to me, sir, would you please sign this document? What is it? It's for Air Force One. How much is it? $5.8 billion. I said, that's a lot of money for one airplane. No, it's two airplanes. So, oh, okay, that's great. So they said, would you please sign this? Because Air Force One is actually two airplanes. And I said, I don't like that. That sounds like $5.8 billion for two planes? That's a lot of money. I never heard of such a thing. Who negotiated the deal? The Biden administration. I said, I'm not signing it. Why? Because they don't negotiate good deals. I said, I'm not going to sign it. So I get a call. No, it sounded ridiculous, right? You've been reading the story because it's now a big story. So I refused to sign it. And then the head of Boeing, Dennis, at the time, he called up. Sir, you have to sign this document. We made a deal with the Obama administration. Biden was involved in the negotiation. The Obama administration, they made a deal. Biden was a negotiator, but it was $5.8 billion. I said, nope, got to have a 3 on it. Got to have a 3. Meaning it's got to start with a 3, not a 5. He said, that's impossible. I'm not going to do it. It's okay. We don't have to buy it. We're not going to buy it. Then I said to the general, do you have a cancellation clause? Yes, sir, we do. We have to pay $200 million, sir, we can cancel. I said, $200 million to cancel? That didn't sound like a good deal to me. I said, don't cancel. Let me just do this separate. Don't cancel. So I said, nope, we're not going to do it. We're not going to spend that kind of money. So the head of Boeing called me up about a month later, and he said, we'll take $400 million off the price. I said, nope, got to have a 3 on the front. He said, we can't do that. We'll take 600, okay? Nope, got to have a 3. A 3! So now, I mean, we already saved $600 million, and I haven't even lifted my ass out of the office, right? Well, I mean, how many people can do that? And there are many of these stories I could tell you, but this is one that's sort of interesting because it's a big story now because now Boeing is complaining that the deal they made with Trump is no good and they want to renegotiate. You believe this? But the end of the story, I said, nope, got to have a 3 on the front. Dennis says, sir, I'll call you back. He got it down to $4.5 billion from $5.8 billion. I said, nope, got to have a 3 on the front of it. He said, I'm not doing it. He actually started getting quite angry. That's why a lot of people don't like me, to be honest with you. But, you know, remember, I'm fighting for you. Sir, he said, sir, I'm sorry, we're not going to be able to do it, 4.5. We're not going to be able to do it. That's okay. When you come up with the right number, you're going to call me. It's got to have a 3. Don't call me unless you have a 3. And I forgot about it. 2 months went by. Then all of a sudden I get a call from Boeing. I said, I wonder what the hell that guy wants. You know, after time goes by, you sort of onto the next. I said, what does he want? And he called up Dennis. He said, sir, we'll do the deal. This is our final offer for $3,999,000,000. 9,999 and 99 cents. I said, Dennis, you have a deal. Okay, I said, you have a deal. So I saved $1.8 billion. Think of that. Doing nothing. Phone call, same exact plane. Not like, oh, gee, let's get smaller versions. Same exact plane, except I had a nicer paint job, to be honest with you, okay? But that's, let's assume, pretty much the same. But the same exact plane. And when you look at it, it's sort of incredible. But it's become a very big story now because Boeing is complaining that we made too good a deal. But isn't that nice? Because you've never heard that the government made too good a deal. And they're going to lose $600 to $700 million. And they want to renegotiate the contract. I said, you shouldn't do that because they've usually made great contracts. And, you know, Boeing has suffered greatly with what happened. And I actually, many years ago, I said, no, make it the 757. Don't do the extended 737. And they didn't listen to me. And you know what they did? They did the MAX. How did that work out? They should have listened to me. And I say it all the time. I said, reinstitute your 757 plan. It's better. And they said, we're just going to extend it. They just kept extending the 737 until they had the MAX. And the MAX was not good. Also, in my first few months, I negotiated $700 million of bloated costs out of Lockheed Martin's F-35 program simply by getting Boeing to price out a competing proposal for an upgraded F-18 Super Hornet. I read in a certain newspaper that I won't name because I think it's a horrible paper, but I read where they were having a lot of disputes on the F-35 in terms of money. And I got the parties together, and then I said, I don't like the plane, I like this plane better. And they started dropping their price like you wouldn't believe, saved hundreds of millions of dollars. I think that was done even before I came into office. And if you want to have leverage, what I did is I got another company involved. You know, it's very hard. We used to have many aircraft companies. Now we have basically two. You know, you have Lockheed, you have Boeing, sort of, you have two. It's not good. We used to have many, but over the years they've been gobbled up, so they didn't have competition. That's not a good thing, but that's what happened before me. And before becoming president, I heard about a certain aircraft carrier. You know that? I've told the story. Does anybody want to hear that story real fast? No? And it's the Gerald Ford. It's the largest ship in the world, I think, the USS Gerald Ford. It's been under construction for many, many years. It was supposed to cost $3 billion and it was up to like $15 billion. And they have things called catapults. You know what a catapult is? That's the steam that blows the plane. And I said I went on the ship, I wanted to see the catapult, and not the admiral. I didn't care about the admiral. I wanted to see the people because this thing had a $975 million extra because they made the catapults out of electric. They made them electric catapults. I said, what about steam? I'd always watch Victory at Sea, right? Boom, the steam goes and the plane goes off. So I got the 5 catapulters. One was named Joey. I said, Joey, you're the head? Yes, sir, I am. I'm a catapulter for 22 years, sir. I said, what's going on here? He said, these electric things aren't good, sir. I said, why did they get them? Because they don't know what they're doing. I said, which is better? The steam is much better, sir. It's cheaper, it's better. And I can fix it with a hammer and with a blowtorch. And I said, and the admiral's standing there waiting me to tour the ship, but the ship is a disaster. I mean, it's been in sea trials for years because they can't get the catapult to work. And he said, there's another problem too, sir, the elevators. What's with the elevators, Joey? He said, they're magnetic. They lift up through magnets. I said, they should be using hydraulic, right? Like we have on tractors, right? We all have tractors. And we use hydraulic. We don't use magnets because if the magnet gets a little bit wet, it doesn't work. You can't lift up your corn anymore. You can't lift up the hay. You can't lift up anything. So he said, we have, and these are the big elevators that lift the planes, 12 planes out of the basement. They're made out of magnets. So I said, I want to see the architect who designed the plane. He walked into the office, came into the Oval Office. I said, have you ever designed a ship before? This is the largest ship in the world. I said to this character, have you ever designed a ship before? Well, I did a couple, yeah. But this design is a disaster. So I said to him, what do you think then, Joey? We have to go back? He said, you got to go back. $975 million in extras, and it still didn't work. And what a shame it is, all because they used people that didn't know what the hell they were doing. One other quick little thing, the tower on an aircraft carrier, it's always in the middle, right, hanging out over the sea. And this one was in the back. And I don't know if you know this, but the hardest thing to do for a pilot is to land on an aircraft carrier, because this is a big thing, but when you're sitting in the Atlantic Ocean with waves and you're sitting in the Pacific Ocean, it may look big, but it's not very big when you're looking down and you're coming in at 300 miles an hour. And it's the hardest thing to do. They moved the tower on an aircraft carrier. They moved it to the back. By moving it to the back, they have much less room to land. And I said, and by the way, where it says ammo underneath the tower, that's not ammunition, is it, to the architect? He said, yes, sir, it's ammunition. I said, you mean to tell me you put the ammunition under the tower where the captain and everybody is? This is the craziest thing. And I could tell you these stories all day long. All day long. In any event, it's a mess. I never saw anything like it. But I asked Joey one question. I said, why did they do it? He said, because with electric, it goes this way, sir. You can do it very fast when it's working, which is seldom. In fact, he said, if it breaks, we have to send up to MIT to get their 3 most brilliant people to fix it. We can't fix it, sir. And he said, literally, take this glass of water, pour it on top, that's the end of it. and we're dealing with an ocean. Think of how stupid this stuff is. And I have hundreds of stories. But I said to him, so Joey, what do you think? What do we do? He said, why did they do it? Because of the speed. He said, but sir, it takes us 1 minute and 59 seconds to bring a plane in. By that time, the steam has been built up, and we go boom. So it doesn't help that it goes this way. But this is the kind of thinking we have. We made so many improvements to that whole deal. Not only Space Force and what we're doing with Space Force, which is so important. You know, we were losing that race to China and to Russia. But I could tell you these stories all day long, like the F-35 story. Saved hundreds of millions of dollars, literally with phone calls. I stood up to the military-industrial complex, that's really what it, and demanded that we bring our troops back home. We want our troops back home. We have our troops. We have our troops in places that don't even want us. I also negotiated for our allies to finally pay their fair share. You look at NATO. When I first got involved with NATO, almost everybody other than 8, almost everybody was delinquent. I said, you're delinquent, you're not paying. We were paying for almost everything. And Cindy, is it true? $400 billion they paid. They said, sir, does this mean that if Russia does something to us, you're not going to protect us? I said, well, are you paid up or not? Let's say we're not paid up. No, we're not going to protect you. The next day, billions and billions of dollars were sent in. My biggest fan is the head of NATO. He says, I can't believe it. You know, Obama came in and he made a speech and he left. Bush came in, he made a speech and he left. You came in, made a speech, and you said, you got to pay up. You're not paying. And billions of dollars. That's why NATO has money. But even with Saudi Arabia, King Solomon, I said, listen, we're protecting Saudi Arabia, nothing but cash. I mean, they have tremendous cash. I said, you have to do me a favor. You have to pay like $5 billion. You have to pay. We're protecting you. We have missiles all over the place. You're not paying. He said, but nobody else ever asked us to do that. It wasn't that they didn't want to pay. They said, nobody else has ever asked us to do it. I said, but I'm asking, and they were great. They paid. When Mexico refused to help secure the border and stop illegal immigration, I announced that I was putting a 25% tariff on all goods from Mexico if they took no action. And Mexico for, 25 years said, we're not going to do anything. I said, no, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers free of charge while we're building the wall. And I said, you also have to institute stay in Mexico. It's called Remain in Mexico. That's when these people come into the caravans. By the way, we have the largest caravan ever. Nobody's ever seen a caravan. Heading to our country right now. And they're going to just walk right into our country. From prisons, 129 countries are being represented. It's not just the locals. But, when Mexico and the State Department said they'll never do it, for 25 years we've tried to get Remain in Mexico. For 25 years we asked them to guard the border with their soldiers. I said, of course I'll get it. I'll get it very easily. Why do you say I won't get it? You won't get it, sir. We've been asking for 25 years, sir. And I said, well, let's give it a shot. And the head person from Mexico, right under the president, who I really like, he came in. I said, you have to give us 28,000 soldiers. He says, you want 28,000? We wouldn't give you that. I said, you're going to give it to us. I'm telling you, really, you are. Then they said, you have to do Remain in Mexico. And 8 other things that were almost as tough. He said, we won't do any of that. I said, well, here's the story. On Monday morning, we're going to tariff every car that you make in Mexico and send into their country by 25%. And we're going to tariff everything else that you send into our country, so that anything that's made in Mexico, we're going to tariff you 25% if you want to do business with the United States of America. And he said, sir, I'd love to supply you with 28,000 free soldiers. I would love to have a wonderful policy of Remain in Mexico. You know what Remain in Mexico is? Instead of coming into our country and coming to your great states, because you have 2 really represented, but you probably have them from all over the place, right? But Remain in Mexico means they stay in Mexico. You had to see Tijuana. Tijuana had more people. It was going to become one of the largest cities in the world if we didn't do something. But it was remain in Mexico until we find out and check people out, and not a lot of them checked out. Now they're just pouring into our country. Biden ended remain in Mexico. You know how hard it was to get it? You know, I tell you with a light heart, but you know how hard that was to get remain in Mexico? They've been trying to get it for years and years and years. I got it in about 15 minutes. But then I got the 28, is this correct, Cindy Hyde-Smith? 28,000 soldiers for zero. And these guys were very good. They did a good job. We had the greatest, most protected border by far in the history of our country, and that included drugs, that included human trafficking. But sadly, Biden is now systematically surrendering every advantage we worked so hard to build. Last month, more illegal aliens came into our country than at any other time ever, ever, ever. Millions of people are right now pouring into the United States. They're totally unvetted. They're totally unchecked. You know, there was a time when if you didn't wear a mask, you know, they were going to give you the electric chair, right? But if you came in through the border, you didn't have to wear a mask. You didn't have to be anything. You just come in and enjoy our country. It's totally unsustainable. The numbers are unsustainable. I don't believe there's ever been a country, even third world countries would never allow what's happening to our country to happen. Third world countries would never allow millions and millions of people to march through their borders. Last year was the worst border year in the history by far, and this year it's at least twice as bad. Think of it. And the biggest caravans, I think I came up with that name. I called it a caravan because we had small ones started, and we were able to get them to turn back, working with Mexico and Honduras and other countries. We were able to get them to turn back. When Republicans retake control of Congress, one of the first bills they must pass is funding to hire thousands and thousands more ICE and Border Patrol agents and to take care of our police. To stop the wave of violent crime like we've never seen in the history of our country in Democrat-run cities, we will take billions of dollars out of Joe Biden's radical left agenda, and we will give that money straight to local communities to hire tens of thousands more police officers in order to put the bloodthirsty and dangerous criminals and gang members behind bars. And they want to do it. And we have to give respect back to our police. We have to give it. It's been taken away. They're afraid to do anything. They're afraid if they do something and if they're a little too strong, they're going to lose their pension, they're going to be put in prison. They're afraid to do anything. And we've never had cities that are running like they are right now. You look at, they're war zones. You know, in Afghanistan, I spoke to the Taliban, and it was a very strong conversation, but I said, Abdul, don't kill any more of our soldiers. If you do, we're going to unfortunately have to hit you harder than anybody's ever been hit. I said, I understand. Then I got criticized. For speaking to them. I thought they were going to impeach me. I said, why don't you impeach me a third time? They said, why did you call the Taliban? I said, well, you know, Jesse James, when he used to rob banks, they said, why do you always rob banks? He goes, that's where the money is. Well, with the Taliban, that's where the problem was, with Taliban. And they were killing a lot of our soldiers. And I said, if you do any more, we went 18 months without one soldier being killed. Think of it, 18 months. And we were getting ready to leave, and we would have left with strength and dignity. And they were very afraid of us. We would have left with strength and dignity. We would have kept Bagram. You know, Bagram is this Air Force base that was built years ago for billions and billions of dollars. And you know what? China is now occupying Bagram. We're going to keep it not because of Afghanistan, but because it's 1 hour away from where China makes their nuclear weapons. And they left Bagram, the biggest thing you've ever seen, the biggest, most powerful runways. China is taking over Bagram. Can you believe this? We would have kept Bagram. We would have been out of there, but we would have kept Bagram. Under a Republican Congress, we will once and for all ban critical race theory in our schools. We will shatter the left-wing education cartel and liberate America's school children from Marxist educators through school choice. Everybody wants school choice. And we will stand up for parental rights. And we will not let men participate in women's sports. Is that okay? Oh, I can't. We're not going to let it happen. You saw the weightlifter, right? I think it was 218 pounds. A woman is lifting weight. She's great athlete. The record for years was, I think, 218 pounds. It's a lot of weight. 218 pounds, a lot of weight. And they put on like a half an ounce and a half an ounce at the end. She's going to break it by just a little bit. And she gets up and she's ready. She's trained for 10 years. And she gets over those weights and she lifts. You saw this, right? She lifts. Didn't work, Bomb. Didn't make it, but you'll make it. Then this guy comes up. I think his name was Rita. No, I think so. Whatever. And he goes up to the weights. And here's the guy. He started doing reps. They said, have you lifted before? No, I just started. Oh, great. It's so crazy. The other was the swimmer. You saw the swimmer? She was going to break the record. You know, the sad part is they don't want to complain because it's not, I'm the only guy that talks about it. You ever notice? You never hear politicians talking about it. They don't talk about it. I think it's fine to talk. I think it's ridiculous. I think it actually hurts women. It demeans women. But this beautiful young woman is a swimmer. She's a champion swimmer, and she wants to break the world record. And she was going to try and do it by, I think, an eighth of a second. She was ready, and she was great. And she's getting ready. She's up, and she's looking, seeing people she's been competing with all her life. Looks left, looks right. Then she sees this person next. Holy man. This guy had a wingspan. Did you see the guy? He was like this. He was the longest human being. Like this. Arms that went down to the floor. But did you see the look? She's looking. You know what she said when she saw him to herself? But I won't say this because I don't want to get it on camera. She looked at him. She said, holy shit, I'm in trouble. Right? And you know, it was very sad because she was seriously injured during the race. You know what injured her? Wind burn. She got burned by the wind. He went by her so fast. Never recovered. Wind burn. So he broke the record by 38 seconds. It's so unfair to women. It's so unfair to women. I mean, if I were a basketball coach, I know who I'd be going. I don't want to get involved, but I'd be hiring. I'd have the greatest women's basketball team of all time. I can't stand LeBron James, but I would say, LeBron, did you ever think about going woman? Because if you did, I'd like to put you on my team. Can't stand the guy either. I don't like him, but I'd like to have him on my basketball team. He would be the captain of my women's basketball team. We wouldn't lose. We wouldn't lose too many games. No teacher should ever be allowed to teach transgender to our children without parental consent. You know, 5 years ago, nobody would have even knew what I was talking about. And now look, that gets a bigger hand than even stopping inflation. Now think of it. 5 years ago, if I would have said that, people would say, what does he mean by that? And now it gets standing ovations every time. It's amazing. And finally, we must pass critical election integrity reforms, including universal voter ID, citizenship confirmation, no more fake drop boxes that can't be policed, No private money pouring into local election offices. And ultimately, we want same-day voting, one day, and only paper ballots. Wow. That got a bigger hand than transgender, Cindy. I hope you're watching. That's bigger than transgender. Hey, in France, what do they have, like 38 million people? France, a country, they just voted same day, paper ballots, voter ID. They had no problem. Same day. You know these things where you vote 38 days in advance and they have it voting before, after, forget the legislatures. They don't even ask the legislatures anymore. It's so corrupt. But then they say the ballots are being stored. What do you think is happening to those ballots that are being stored? We have security standing. Well, where the hell is security today? Well, he didn't show up. He's sick. And you see what's going on. It's a disgrace what's happened. And this is what's happened to our country. But first, we need a landslide so big that they cannot rig it or steal it. And if you want to learn the truth about all of these issues, go to Truth Social. Is everybody on Truth Social? It's hot. Truth, it's much better than Twitter. I'll tell you, much better. I think Twitter's going to hell. You see what's going on with its bots and fake accounts? It's a big scam, maybe. I don't know. I think Elon wants to get out of that deal pretty badly. But go to Truth Social as fast as you can. Everyone in this room is fighting for the same timeless American values. We all feel the same way about almost everything. We believe the American Constitution, and we believe the rule of law. We want the rule of law. We believe that our founding documents are not a source of shame. These people tell you that they're a source of shame. They're a source of great pride. We believe that faith and family, not government and bureaucracy, are the true American way. We do. We believe that America is the sovereign nation with a sovereign people, which means that we must have a strong, secure, sovereign border with powerful and honest elections. We believe in the dignity of work and the sanctity of life. We believe in religious liberty, the right to free speech, and the right to keep and bear arms. Your Second Amendment is under siege, as I told you it would be during the campaign. We believe that the first duty of government is to protect and defend the interests of our own citizens. In other words, we believe that we must put America first. It's very simple, quite simple. We believe that children should be taught to love our country, honor our history, and always respect our great American flag. Always respect. And we live by the words of our national motto, "In God we trust." Our MAGA movement, sometimes referred to as Make America Great Again, is by far the greatest political movement in the history of our country. You can see it. They would come after me if I said that and it was wrong. If somebody was 1% stronger, they would come after me. You wouldn't believe it. It's the strongest movement that we've ever had, and it's getting stronger and stronger every single day. Amazing. And it's our movement, it's not my movement. We got this started 6 years ago. Remember, I said we're going to celebrate Christmas again. The department stores were saying Happy New Year, but they weren't saying Merry Christmas. Now they're saying Merry Christmas again because the people will not stand for anything else. Started early on. That was one of the early ones. So to each of you in this wonderful hall that set its record, I love that it's, oh, we love setting those records. I ask you to get ready to work, get ready to fight, and get ready to win. And we're going to win like never before. We're going to win like never before. By the way, you ever hear the way the Democrats talk? We're going to fight, we're going to that, and be careful, Kavanaugh. You be careful, Kavanaugh. We're going to hit you so hard. That's okay. But if you say peacefully, walk. If you say majestically, if you say we love our country, oh, this is an insurrection taking place. You ever hear Maxine Waters? You ever see what she says? You ever see the way she talks? You ever see crazy Nancy Pelosi, what she says? The worst things you could even imagine. And then we make very peaceful. In fact, somebody said that was one of the most beautiful speeches, the speech I made. They said, we didn't know you were that nice a person. They said, a particular senator and a friend of Cindy's said, that was the nicest speech I've ever heard you make. It was so mild. I said, that's the way it is. Then they said, insurrection. These people are crazy. And take a look at the Democrats and take a look at what they've said over the last 5 years, over the last 20 years, over the last 40 years. Take a look what people have said. What they've said is vicious and horrible, but they come after Republicans. They don't do anything about Antifa that destroyed cities all over our country, like Portland, where you can't even put up a storefront without it being burned down the next day. You got to see Portland. They say the shopping center, it's all made up of 2x4s because nobody wants to buy a storefront anymore. It's horrible. What they've done in Seattle, they took over a big chunk of Seattle. If it wasn't for me, they'd still have it. And you go to Minnesota, Minneapolis, take a look at what happened over there. And if I didn't get them finally to get the National Guard, that place would have been ripped to pieces. No, we have to get smart because our country is being destroyed. Together we will take back the House, we will take back the Senate, and we will take back our country. And then most importantly, in 2024, we are going to take back our magnificent White House. We're going to take it back. Thank you very much. And finally, and I say with a sad heart because I see what's happening to our country, but with a happy heart because I know we're going to be turning it around, and it's going to be hopefully sooner rather than later. With the support of patriots like you all across this magnificent land, we will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Thank you. God bless you. Thank you.